Bacik.
And Taoiseach, on 9 February, 6 weeks ago now, the Labour Party called for an extension to the eviction ban in our motion in the Dáil. Your government voted it down, and you voted down our proposal for a series of constructive measures that would have served to increase the number of homes available to people. But despite positive indications that you were going to extend the ban in the meantime, at the last minute you've confirmed that you are indeed going to lift it at the end of next week, in 10 days' time. And this decision is already causing immense distress and devastation to those families and renters around the country facing a cliff edge of eviction from the 1st of April. Since our motion was defeated, parliamentary questions we've received confirmed that you did not undertake any modelling as to the effect that your decision would have on increasing homelessness. The responses from government have also confirmed that the primary consideration for choosing the duration of the ban in the first place was that of weather. Incredible meteorological conditions. And further responses have confirmed to us that no new or clear direction was given to local authorities by the Housing Minister to mandate the purchase of homes occupied by renters who are facing homelessness. In other words, your government has wasted the breathing space afforded to you by the ban. You could have used the 6 months that the ban was in operation to plan, to put in place contingency measures, to add extra homes for people, to add extra conditionality, to ensure that, for example, landlords moving back into their own homes could be catered for. But it's extraordinary. I think it's extraordinary for all of us, incomprehensible, as to how you instead went ahead and decided to lift the ban from the end of next week without any plan B, without any contingencies. And nothing that you can float this week, and we've seen in the last 30 minutes leaked details apparently of the sort of measures that will be in the government counter-motion, but nothing that's floated this week will help those who are due to lose their homes from the start of April. Nothing. And no kite flying this week will provide the reassurance that the parents who are contacting us need. Parents who can't bear the thought that they're going to have to take their children out of school because they simply cannot find another place to live in their own community. In my own constituency, I'm hearing from parents in this position. I'm hearing from renters who are now going to face hours-long commutes because they cannot afford a home in a community near their workplace. Taoiseach, it's not too late, even now at the 11th hour, to reverse your decision to extend the ban. And indeed, you should vote for the opposition motion tomorrow. Some members of your government are proposing to vote for it, it seems. But if you don't, then we in Labour have proposed a constructive alternative. As you know, I wrote to you last Thursday with draft legislation which we are calling on you to move this week. Our legislation provides a mechanism to keep the ban in place until monthly homelessness reports show a reduction for 4 successive months. This is a compassionate, evidence-based approach, results-based, not time-based, and it's the approach that homeless agencies have urged you to adopt. So Taoiseach, will you admit that you've made a mistake? Will you stop defending the indefensible, and will you reverse your decision? If not, you've left us with no choice but to table a motion of no confidence in your government next week. A measure we do not take up lightly, but a measure which we believe is justified by reference to the devastation that your government's decision is causing so many thousands of families and renters around the country.
Thanks, Deputy. We were always clear when this was introduced that it was a temporary measure. And if you read the regulation, it says winter period. It's very clear that this was to be a temporary measure for the winter period and would end on a phased basis from the 1st of March. It gave tenants facing or receiving notice of termination a few more months to find an alternative accommodation. It gave the government time to act, and we did act. Over 6,000 new social homes built. The tenant in situ scheme scaled up, and a very clear direction from the Minister of Housing to local authorities that we want that done and want that used, and also allowed us to provide additional emergency accommodation in cases needed. But there's one thing I think we all agree on, and we do all seem to agree that an eviction moratorium has to end at some point. And no matter when you end it, it's going to be difficult and problems are going to arise. The view from the Sinn Féin party is a time-based extension, extended until January, and let's just hope it's better then. And the truth is, extending the eviction ban until the end of January just means it's going to be much worse then, and in the middle of winter. In fairness to the Labour Party, you've put forward a different proposal. What you're proposing is that the eviction ban can end if we see the number of people in emergency accommodation fall for 4 months. But think that through. It might fall 50 for 1 month, 10 another month, 55 the next month, maybe 2 the month after. It might fall by as little as 4, and then we'd lift the ban. And what do you think would happen then? It doesn't make sense either. It's very clear to everyone. It's very clear to everyone it's very clear to everyone. It's very clear to everyone that once this was introduced, it was going to be very hard to unwind. I don't think it gets any easier by extending it until the middle of winter, which is January. I don't think it gets any easier by waiting until the numbers fall by as few as 4 over the period of a 4-month period.
Tone indicates the problem here, and I think this is the problem for renters listening to you now, those people who are facing the certain knowledge that from the 1st of April a notice of termination will take effect, they will face eviction, and there is nowhere else for them to go because there is such a chronic shortage of housing across the country. I think to listen to your, if I may say, fatalistic tone, suggesting that there's nothing that could be done during an extended period of an eviction ban. The point is that the eviction ban was to give your government a breathing space to put in place the necessary emergency measures to increase supply of homes and ensure that there would be a safety net for families facing that cliff edge of eviction. You've done nothing for the last 6 months. You've apparently just waited to see what will happen, and it's simply not good enough to take the same approach now, waiting to see what will happen when the ban is lifted without having any contingency plans in place, without having any safety net in place for those families now facing homelessness, who've already been served notices to quit and who are facing the absolute human catastrophe and distress of losing their homes from the 1st of April. I think it's shameful to have taken this indefensible decision without any contingency plan.
Thank you, Deputy Taoiseach, to conclude.
Debbie, that's not the position I'm articulating. I don't agree that it makes sense to extend the eviction ban until the depths of winter, the end of January, where the situation could even be worse. I don't think waiting until it's fallen by maybe 1 person a month for 4 months makes sense either. The solution is a different one. The solution is more social housing. We built more social housing last year than any year since 1975. We'll do more again. The solution is a tenant in situ scheme. Councils and affordable approved housing bodies buying up homes so that people can stay in them. The solution is more supply. That's why we're extending Croí Cónaithe to rental properties, why we're changing the rules around the fair deal, why we're engaging on unactivated plan commissions. It's also why we've committed today to tax changes for small landlords that will take effect this year and be in the budget later in the year, and it's why we're investing in homeless prevention services. These are real solutions that will make a difference. Different mechanisms of kicking the can down the road won't work, definitely won't work.